Meeting of the Hartford City Plan Commission. I call the meeting to order and look for a review of the minutes of June 13th, 2022.
Also move.
Scott, move. Ralph to accept the minutes. All in favor of accepting the minutes of June 13th, 2022, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Next, we have appearances. Anybody in our vast studio audience wishing to come up and speak to something before the our meeting continues is welcome to come up and chat. Of course, we do have a public hearing on the conditional use permit for Peace Lutheran School, so you would have time to address that during that hearing, but anything else, you're welcome to come up to the podium. You get 3 glorious minutes. Anybody? Third call. Okay, going to the public hearing for the conditional use permit for Peace Lutheran School at 1025 Peace Lutheran Drive. I'd like to open the hearing and ask for a reading of the public notice.
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held at 5:30 p.m. or thereafter on July 11th, 2022 in the Common Council Chambers at the lower level of City Hall, 109 North Main Street, by the City of Hartford Plan Commission to consider the following. A request for a conditional use has been filed by Peace Lutheran School to allow a temporary recreational vehicle campground for volunteer construction workers located at 1025 Peace Lutheran Drive. Section 13.0404 of the Code states that following a public hearing and after careful consideration, the Plan Commission may grant the conditional use permit as applied for, grant the conditional use permit with conditions deemed appropriate, or deny the permit. A map of the parcel and proposed renderings can be viewed in the Planning and Zoning Office by appointment, 109 North Main Street, Monday through Friday between the hours of 7:30 a.m. and 4:30 p.m. Purpose of said hearing is to hear those persons who wish to express their opinion for or against the granting of the conditional use permit. Dated the 24th day of June 2022, this appeared in the Daily News June 24th and July 1st, and 51 notices were sent to surrounding property owners.
Thank you very much. Staff review, a proposed conditional use permit at the 1025 Peace Lutheran Drive. We have our city planner, Justin Drew.
Yes, so last month you approved a site plan for that Peace Lutheran School will be expanding in 2023, and now they're requesting that they be able to temporarily park up to 14 RVs on the site in order to house volunteer contractors and workers who would work on the site. In addition to the plan that you've got in the packet, there have been some slight changes from the initial submittal to the one that's up here on the screen, and then they proposed an alternate arrangement that might deal with some of staff's concerns, and I'll address that as I go through it. Their original proposal showed some of these parking stalls pretty near to the Settlement Ridge subdivision. The one that you see here would show a 75-foot setback. Staff was looking for them to use the parking lot entirely, and that would get you at least 125 feet. So I think for the second, I'll talk about kind of the standards that we want to impose to make sure that minimize impact on the surrounding property. One would be that we try and limit the time to no more than 4 months if something like this is approved, and 2, that there be at least 125 feet to the nearest residential property. And in discussing this with the city attorney, we were a little concerned about setting a precedent, and I think by stating that this is only something that would be allowed in certain districts, institutional and manufacturing, and keeping that separation of at least 125 feet, and then also limiting the amount of time to no more than 4 months. You're going to limit how big of a project can be done and how many places in the city it would be done. I mean, it's certainly an innovative way to try and cut down on rising costs. So this evening, the applicant submitted a new potential location, which would be just southwest of the school and would be tucked around near the baseball field. This would be more than 200 feet from any nearby residential property, and I think it deals with the concerns that staff had about the location. It also shows how they would tie into the existing water and electrical feeds, and shows where they would put an underground holding tank. So staff is satisfied with this location, would also be satisfied with the proposed location of it being entirely on the parking lot.
Okay, now, when I read through it, took and read through completely this afternoon, it showed 125 feet and the other thing that you mentioned. So are those actually incorporated in the latest version that we have?
Well, the one that's up here that is 75 feet.
Okay, but I'm just saying what I read in the packet was 125 feet. Which is what you
That's what we were, if it was, it moved to the parking lot, that would give you at least 125 feet.
And it also mentioned the 123 days, which is no more than 4 months, so.
Right. Yeah, that was one of the conditions that I recommended.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, any other questions, comments, concerns? Well, actually, we'll get to that. First, we'll ask appearances in favor of. Anybody wish to speak in favor of, please come up to the microphone. You get 3 glorious minutes. Anybody wishing to speak, please go ahead. If you'd like to, please go ahead to the podium. Sir, you've got your hand up. What do you want?
I'd like to raise a point of order. Am I the only one here that is not able to hear anything?
Oh,
Does anyone have their microphones on?
We do.
do we have our microphone? Oh,
He read a whole thing off and no one can hear him.
Mine is on, but
yours is on, mine's not. Oh, so he's picking it up there, but we're not picking it up in the audience. Watch and listen.
Yes, I can hear it.
Barely. Can you, test? Is that a little better? Not really, no. Seems to just be coming out of the speaker over on the side. I don't know that it's coming out. Steve, I mean, you're in the back. What are you thinking? Can you hear it?
well, in the interim, you've got a pretty good booming voice.
I can hear you.
Yeah. So what the mayor is requesting right now is for people who want to appear in favor of the proposed project. So anyone who wanted to appear should come up to the podium and state their name and just talk about why you're in favor of it. And
Right.
you got
You're
up to
welcome
3
to,
minutes.
at this time, come up and speak in favor of. Anybody wishing to speak in favor of, please come up to the microphone. You get 3 glorious minutes. State your name and address, please.
My name is Saul Leitsky.
Oh.
This one works. My address is N4855 County Road E. I'm from Eustisford. I'm currently the chairman of the building project at Peace, and I'm here to speak in favor of this. One, I guess, because it affords us an opportunity to save quite a bit of money, utilizing laborers who are skilled in their trade, many since retired, and then they come. And one of the contingencies of why they would come is they're allowed to stay on site. It makes it considerably more difficult for them if they have to arrange hotels or just transfer back and forth. It doesn't work as well. The people that would come are United Kingdom workers, also known as Builders for Christ. Very well respected organization. It is not a party crowd by any means. No offense, Mark, but it's not a rowdy group. And they're just here to work. We will provide food for them, hot meals and so forth. And I guess that's why we're asking. So, we will also fall well within that 4-month stipulation, should it be granted. We're really only looking to start early May, and then we need to finish up before August, end of August.
All righty. Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to speak? Appearances for? Third call appearance. Oh, please, if you have, just come up to the microphone, please, sir. Just state your name and your address and why you are for the conditional use permit.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Mark Pamperin, 706 Prairie Gardens, Kewaskum. I am a member of Builders for Christ. That is our volunteer group. I'll refer to it as BFC. Builders for Christ has been around since 1990, and we've had so many projects, like probably about 40 to 50 projects over the last, 30 years. And I myself have been a member and a volunteer since 2001. I was a dairy farmer, and like almost all of us with builders, our profession is not carpentry. Almost everybody has been something else. But we learn, and I as a farmer kind of know most trades anyway, but anyway, we have members throughout the whole country, but basically we're the strongest up in the upper Midwest, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan. And that is why when we do a project, we need to have a campground in order to accommodate everybody that comes. We do have some couple times, some people don't have a camper, but BFC owns 3 campers, and so then we have those campers on site also for those that don't have a camper, and then they can stay in there for a couple of weeks. Generally, when we come, we don't stay the whole project. I mean, just the project manager does for the whole project and the assistant, and I was a project manager, I guess I still am really. And but people come for 1 week, 2 weeks, 5 weeks, whatever, and we usually try and accommodate their schedule. And so when they come, then we generally have about 12 to 14, 15 campers on site. Like I said, we're totally a volunteer group. We try and, what I should say is when we come, there's 2 criteria for the congregation, and Sol already mentioned it, but one is that they have to give us a noon meal plus water like and snacks, morning and afternoon breaks, and then also we need a campground. And so that's why they are requesting for a temporary campground. We set up the campground, it's temporary, and then it'll be all dismantled later when we're out. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else wishing to speak for the conditional use permit for Peace Lutheran School at 1025 Peace Lutheran Drive? Please come up to the microphone, state your name and address.
My name is James Parker. I'm a property owner adjacent to the property in question. I have a number of questions that have not been addressed yet. One question is, how long is this going to go on? Are they going to be moving in tomorrow and going to be there for a year and a half? Are they coming in for 2 or 3 weeks?
Well, actually, it was addressed that there would be no more than 123 days or 4 months, and they're starting next year.
In May of '23.
I'm hard of hearing. I got my hearing aids turned up all the way, so you'll have to bear with me.
Did you hear what I just said?
No, I did not.
Okay, it's going to start next May 2023, and it lasts no more than 123 days.
4 months, okay.
Okay?
Well, I, for one, am against the project.
Okay, that's fine, but what we're doing, and I apologize if you didn't hear that, we're asking for appearances in favor of, and then we're going to have appearances in opposition. So.
Those are things I'm not hearing from
I
the
understand.
limited things.
Okay.
I apologize.
Anybody else wishing to appear for? Please come up to the up to the microphone at the podium. State your name and address.
Matt Burrow, 5138 Betchard Drive, West Bend. I'm the CEO of Catalyst Construction, and I'm also a member at Peace Lutheran. We've done at least a dozen jobs with Builders for Christ locally. Crown of Life in Hubertus was a project where we turned the parking lot into a campground in that instance. In all, at least 12 projects that we've done, they've been great neighbors. It's been actually a really good thing for the community and the congregation. It's been nothing but positive. We've never had a complaint on noise or anything like that. So it is a very positive experience for the community and the congregation.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to speak for the conditional use permit at Peace Lutheran School? Anybody else for? Last call. At this time, we'll take appearances in opposition. Sir, if you'd like to, hello? If you'd like to, you're more than welcome. This is asking for appearances in opposition. Again, if you would state your name and address, please.
My name is James Parker, Hartford, Wisconsin.
Your address, you said you lived right across from them. What your address, please?
My address is 306 West Prospect Street.
Thank you.
So I am on the opposite side, but I'm still adjacent to the Peace Lutheran property.
Understood.
This may be the greatest thing since sliced bread, but everyone that's been come up here and saying they're for it don't live here. They're all out-of-towners, and they think this is the greatest thing since sliced bread. We don't know what we're getting into. We don't know who these people are, and it just sounds like a can of worms that this mythical volunteers show up for all this free labor. I guess I'm one that says if it sounds too good to be true, it is. So I don't know what's all going on here. So without knowing any more, I have to oppose it as a property owner next to the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to appear in opposition of the proposed conditional use permit for Peace Lutheran School? Anybody else wishing to appear in opposition? Last call. Anybody else wishing to appear in opposition? If not, I'll close the hearing and ask for a discussion by the Plan Commission. Anyone have comments, questions, concerns?
What are the work hours?
Speak into your microphone.
Oh, they're working now? What are the work hours?
I couldn't answer that. They'd have to, but I mean, they would obviously have to meet our noise ordinances, so it'd be normal construction, 7 to 7.
Okay.
So anywhere between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead, Ralph. Or
Yes. On the site where you say when you're done with it, the holding tank is going to get pumped and abandoned?
It would have to in order to meet our building inspection requirements, yes.
The what?
In order to meet our building inspection requirements, yes, they would have to fully abandon that holding tank.
And then the water would be abandoned again? Or looks like it comes out of the Peace Lutheran building.
Right, so they would have to abandon that lateral as well,
Okay.
or that, you know.
Tony, did you have anything?
Yes, Justin, does this have any, in terms of getting permits and so forth, for electrical work and plumbing and that type of thing, are there any complications with that, with this work being done by volunteers?
It still has to be supervised, and the type of work that they're going to be doing is somewhat limited. They're not going to be doing commercial electric work. They can't. It's going to be more framing and construction type stuff, not the specialized trades.
Okay. Thank you.
Anybody else? Questions, Clausen?
So the proposed campsite, that blue area that we have on the map.
Hey, Scott, could you pull your microphone up so you can hear it there?
I guess I'm on. There I am. Sorry, I wasn't on. The blue area that we received tonight, the map.
Yes.
So do we know the distances to the homes on Elm Street, West Prospect, and I guess even Abbott Avenue, as well as the St. Killian Parkway? Do we know that?
It's at least 200 feet to each of them. I don't have the exact dimensions.
Well within the guidelines that you put forward.
Right, it would actually be further away from any residence than what I proposed.
And then the campsite will have to meet all city ordinances as far as open flames, those types of things, blah, 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 blah.
Correct.
Okay. That's all I have.
Okay. Any other discussion by members of the Plan Commission? If not, the chair would recognize official action regarding the proposed conditional use permit for Peace Lutheran School, 1025 Peace Lutheran Drive.
Also move.
Scott move, Ralph second. Do we have any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 5, discussion and consideration of a site plan for Hartford Union High School tennis courts. With that, we'll go to City Planner Justin Drew.
The existing 3 courts are at the northwest corner of Monroe and Cedar Street, and their intention is to remove all of those, and they actually have a demo permit in place so they can start with the demolition. The new proposal would be a larger complex of 8 courts with a small pavilion kind of at the center of it and towards West Monroe Avenue. They didn't have building plans to me in time, so at this point we're just really reviewing the courts and the placement of that itself. We do get a little close to the streets, but in reviewing this, the city attorney and I determined that the fence that surrounds the courts and the tennis courts themselves do not meet our definition of a structure, so they don't have actual setback requirements.
Don't fences have setback requirements?
Well, some of them do, but it's specifically listed in the I-1 district that fences in support of recreational things can go up to the lot line.
Got it.
So the setbacks would be about 9 feet from the residential properties to the north, 6.1 feet from West Monroe Avenue, and 5.7 feet from Cedar Street, in a couple of spots, not in all of the places. Given its placement, there would not be a vision triangle easement issue where we have trouble with vehicles seeing around the corners the way they need to. So it does not create any issues as far as that goes. The actual marked portions of the tennis court, the court itself would be set back about 30 feet from properties to the north, 27 feet from West Monroe Avenue, and 21 feet from Cedar Street. So there'd be 4 to 11 portable bleachers placed, that should be 9 to 11 portable bleachers placed around. Most of them would be in between the 2 larger sets of courts, but they'd be kind of placed around all of the courts. We're obviously working with a pretty constrained site. It does all fit on the site. Their landscaping plan would expand on the existing trees that are there and add a number of linden trees on the street frontages, and then they would plant 60 yew evergreen shrubs, which would all be between 4 and 6 feet tall, planting along that northern border to create kind of a buffer between the tennis courts and the properties to the north. With that, staff recommends in favor.
Thank you. Any discussion by members of the Plan Commission? Any questions?
Also move with a
I
question.
didn't ask for a movement, I asked for questions first.
Do you have to have a motion?
Dennis?
No question.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you put your hand up. Okay, Tony?
I do have a question. Are there any lights proposed for this site? Lighting for the tennis courts?
They did not submit a lighting plan, and obviously if one were to move forward, they'd have to be very careful in how they are arranged. It's gotten to the point where you can aim lights so that they don't create a lot of off-site nuisance, and they would have to meet our code for that.
Okay. And then in terms of the fence, there's sidewalk on both of those, on Monroe and there, would that be incorporated into the fence, or would there be enough room for sidewalk there, or how would that work?
The existing sidewalk would remain, and it would be that 5-6 feet away from where the fences would start.
Okay.
Thank you. Did you have anything, Ralph?
No, I was just going to make a motion.
Oh, Scott, did you want to?
The only question I have is if they put wind screening up on the fences, does that create this site triangle? I realize that chain link fence you can see through and it doesn't create
Right.
one.
No, it's still set far enough back that even if
Thank you.
they put the windscreens up, no vision
Thanks.
triangle.
Everybody set?
Yeah.
Would I entertain now a motion?
Also move.
Scott moves, Ralph second. Any further discussion for the site plan for the Hartford Union High School?
You're going to bring that back for that outbuilding?
Yeah, as long as it's large enough to require it, then yes, I will bring it back.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you. Discussion and consideration of a mural downtown on the side of Hank's Restaurant and Drinkery. With that, we have joining us our City Administrator, Steve Volkert.
Good evening. You received a copy of the executive summary regarding what is being proposed. Members of the Art and Heart Committee, I made that up, are here tonight. And just to go over what the proposal is. The concept is that they'd like to bring more art to Hart. And so the first step they're going to look to do is a mural on the side of a building. We had talked to Hank's owner, Tommy Wenzel, and said, you have a perfect canvas being right on Highway 60, and it's a large canvas, and we'd like to look at yours as being the first area to do such. The concept is that once we get one up, the people will be so impressed by this art in Hart that they'll want to put them on more buildings. And actually, we've already had 4 or 5 other building owners who would like to put murals on their buildings. The concept is to bring people to community, give them a little information on our community. Like this mural in question shows the city bird, which is the oriole, and the city flower. And anyways, so eventually what they'd like to do is, again, if they get enough interest and sponsorship, Forte Bank, I'm sure, could be on one of these. They could then put these up all over, have a one-day event in which all these murals get painted. But first, it starts with the first one, and this is the one that we're looking at. So this was a design that was presented. We sent an RFP, which I believe you have a copy of that also. And one of the muralists from Milwaukee had submitted that. We received, I think, 7 different ideas. And this was the design that the committee liked the best, and it fit that downtown area. Again, as I mentioned, there's 3 members of the committee here tonight. Dawn Miller, from your Executive Director at Wisconsin Auto Museum, Tom Hosted, the Executive Director of HADC, and also Katie Clarenbach, the President of Volunteers for a Beautiful Hartford. So this is what we're proposing at this time. Again, if we decide to, if we get the support financially to do this, we would look to do this in August. It'd take about 2 weeks to paint that. Up to 2 weeks to paint that, and again would also feature the name on somewhere on their plaque on there of who the sponsoring businesses are, like
And that's
Forte Bank.
this August.
This
Just making
August,
sure.
so
Right.
in 2 months or
Right.
in a month,
Month and a half.
we'd actually have them paint this. Again, then if this again caught on, we would look at doing something next summer in which we do several murals in our downtown area.
Biggest question I had when I showed around what you sent over, Steve, was a fear of vandalism, or how is this coded?
Yeah.
So if somebody came by with a can of Krylon, it could be resurrected or removed. Is there something over the top of it that would make it a little more impervious to?
Yep, there's a clear coat that they put over the top of this, and that, again, can be scrubbable after the fact. So we would look at, again, having that protective coating. The painting itself, the mural itself, is usually good for 5 to 10 years. So your advertising dollars would go far with this one, Tony. But anyway, so it'd be kind of cool. I think you're going to see a lot of people taking selfies of themselves in front of this great mural. And a lot of these muralists have done a lot of work down in the 3rd Ward area, Black Cat Alley. You may have heard of that or gone down that alley where they have a lot of murals on the walls. So again, that's the concept for now.
Super. Okay. Any other questions by members of the commission from Forte Bank?
No,
Tony?
Yeah. Are there any requirements of the building owners to prep the building in preparation for something like this?
No, actually, the artists will have to do some of the the prep. In other words, they go over all of the blue areas of that side of the building and make sure that it is suitable for painting ahead of time. And that's a part of their agreement. So they prep the building first. Now, the front of the building, by the way, the canopy is down, just so in case someone hasn't noticed that one. So, if that's where you're going with that question.
No,
Oh.
not going there.
I think it's very good looking,
Yes, I agree. It really caught my eye. It's very,
very
very impressive.
catchy.
Okay. Well, we would
I'll make a motion.
motion by Ralph, second by Tony, to move ahead with the mural in downtown on the side of Hank's Restaurant and Drinkery. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carried. Thank you very much, gentlemen. We stand adjourned to the call of the chair.